do a personal development course on the ARCS model as one module, and the CIPP evaluation model as the module 2. And my name is Shauna Irwin through the School of Education and Liberty University. So on my there is myself, my paraprofessionals, Alyssa Buckingham and Stephanie Abbott, and the instructional facilitator, Megan Wenger, and along a couple of assistant principals and principals that are not in this picture, along as with the educational team that helps to facilitate our learning environment. So module 1 is defining the ARCS program, its relevancy to teaching and getting started, and how to implement it in your current program. So what is the ARCS model? It was created by John Keller. ARCS stands for Attention, Relevance, Confidence, and Satisfaction. It is a model designed to provide learning experiences by increasing their motivation. So ARCS is a motivation model for students. Lee and Keller found this. There should be differences in the motivational tactics usage among the students of different cultures. So it's ability to be super creative when you're using the ARCS model, because it should be applying to everybody. Dear fear, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. Anyone who does what is good is from God. Anyone who does what is evil has not seen God. That's 3 John 1:11, New International Version. So ARCS model defines what is good for each of us. So learning is categorized. Why do we want to use the ARCS model, or why is it important? Learning is categorized by the processes with an individual learner, but also by the process shared and affecting the members of a defined group. So it has to do with diversity, it has to do with creativity, and it has to do with individual learners. Application and implementation of data determine the extent to which professionals apply their newly acquired knowledge and skills from the learning program. So when they're motivated, they'll apply and they'll implement the knowledge and the skills of the learning problem, which build confidence in our learners. Getting started focuses on first the attention. Use real-world examples, humor, hands-on experiences, thought-provoking sessions. Not thought-provoking in just providing a question for thinking, but thought-provoking in what's going to maintain a student's thought process throughout the learning. What's a question that they can answer by the end of the program or the session. A couple of examples from Peck said, real-world examples are good when they tie into people's previous beliefs. So when you're building off, it's called scaffolding. When you're building off of somebody's prior knowledge, it's better. They are more attentive and they will follow along with you better. Employers shed that they know that employees must be actively involved and engaged in the process and learn the context. So this also is an example of why hands-on experiences are necessary to motivate people to get jobs done. So once you have their attention, it needs to be relevant. How does the information apply to the person involved? What will they apply what will they be able to apply that they will be able to use in their life? They need to identify the goals. At the end of this, we will know how to use the ARCS model, and you will be able to find the attention getters, make it relevant to your students, and be confident in what you're doing. There will be a clear picture of success and feedback. So if you aren't using real-world examples, limited humor, or there's not hands-on experience or thought-provoking questions, that's the first step in using this model. You start there, and if you are using them, are they examples that are hitting Will exams that are hitting the needs of your students. So maybe that's another reflection that you use. So being confident in this knowledge. Participants have acquired new knowledge about their strengths. This data raises the level of confidence for the participants as they plan to apply it. So we want you to apply the knowledge and be confident in what you're doing and being able to leave this program or leave this professional development class and apply it in your classrooms today. Give people choices, provide challenges. So again, backing to scaffolding, start with easier, start with the knowledge that they have and grow to complex problems and being able to provide their applications. The harder they do, the more confident they will feel that they understand the knowledge. And then satisfaction. Lastly, can they apply the new skills without having a guide or somebody there to help them? Rewards and treats are counterproductive. So if they're just doing it because they get a credit at the end of the class, or they're just doing it because they get a treat for showing up, or a grade, if they're only doing it or in the classroom for a grade, then they're really not satisfied with the course and they're not motivated to the best of their ability, and they're not going to produce the best results. So here's a timeline that you could use. Assess the learning environment to see if the 4 components of motivation are currently applied to the learning environment. That might take about a week. And then revamp that learning environment and apply the new motivation techniques in the classroom. This should be about a month-long process. Over the course of a month, 4 weeks, apply those different learning paths so you really can see if the motivational techniques are working or not working. After about 2 weeks in, reassess those motivational techniques. Look for improvements. Look for adjustments that may need to be made. Assess the new learning environment for changes headed in the right directions to continue the ARCS model. Take surveys from the paras in your room. Have the instructional facilitator come and observe you to make sure these new techniques are working. And then 5, continue with the ARCS model for the rest of the year. And then you can evaluate it through the SIP model, which I'm getting ready to tell you about, or start over with step number 1 and do another assessment. So that's number 1. Module 2 is dividing the SIP model, the 4 components of SIP, and then a practical application that I've been able to do this year. Children could make better investments for their future by making the best use of their environment. Looking at their environment is going to be the best way to see if they're being motivated, what applications are used that are helpful or not helpful in their environment. Finding the SIP model, there are 4 types of evaluation that can be conducted individually or collectively as a group. And the C stands for content. Look at the background knowledge, the needs of the student, the environment, the current behaviors, the desired behaviors, family background, safety, benefits, resources, and the problems that you may see with your current learning environment right now. Once you gathered all of that information about the content, then you go to input. The input is going to be the stakeholders, the parents, the students, the teachers, the administrators, collectively. What research needs to be done, either further research about the content or different research to help meet the content areas. And what strategies are going to be needed? Does it need to be different classroom management techniques? Lessons to be taught? New skills that need to be learned? Is money involved? Are there new products or resources that are necessary to implement what you are trying to do? And then, do you already have the resources in the classroom? Take an assessment of that as well. So content, input, and then the 2 P's are process and product. The process is developing the plan, implementing that plan, reassessing, monitoring, and then providing feedback to those involved in the plan. And then product, what impact has been made? Is it effective? Transportability, can it be used inside and outside the classroom? Or is it going to be used for years to come? Sustainability, can it be transferred from year to year, student to student, classroom to classroom? And are there any adjustments that need to be made? So here's an example of this process being conducted in my preschool classroom. Context, we had a lot of aggressive behaviors. There was running away from teachers, not lining up when they were told, hitting instead of speaking to other students, interrupting the teacher, not getting to science on the schedule, so not completing the whole schedule, loud crying and interrupting on the carpet, leaving the carpet without permission, and lack of spatial awareness. So then the input for aggressive behaviors, I began to teach choices. For running away, I talked to administrators, and I figured out ways for them to be involved. Lining up, we clarified the jobs for the paras, which meant that the transitions were faster. We moved out the students that were ready to go right away, and then we held accountable for the students that were not ready to go. In the moment of practice and talking to other students, there was hitting instead of speaking, so we practiced what it meant to talk in the moment to that student. We taught a lot of social skills to help with interrupting and with the aggressive behaviors as well. We added more breaks in the schedule. Parents were involved, and the needs assessment was given. Were they hungry? Were they tired? Are they overstimulated? And what might be going on in their areas? And then, did I need to make tape lines or just give gentle reminders for those that were lacking spatial awareness? So then the process that was implemented, a behavior plan was put in place for one student. Students were beginning to police each other after they were taught, the kids, and there was specific students that were sent to administration without several reminders. Shortened transition times, so pairs would move one group out, and so there was a fear of loss for those that were left behind. There was a social skill education on transitions, on hitting, on using their words, on choices. There's still social skill education going on how to share. Gentle reminders were used for the interrupting, and then those that could not understand it were removed from the group setting, not from the classroom, but from the group, and they had an individual designated spot to sit until they could be reminded of their behaviors. Free choice was implemented twice a day or in more playful activities. Science was included in the free choice option. We were able to identify the triggers during large group and hold students accountable for their choices. So not only were parents involved in classroom observations, but we recognized areas where students were initiating some of the contact that was happening and be able to find the source of those problems. And there was practice at other times during the day. So if they couldn't do something on during whole group, then we would use part of their snack time or recess to practice those daily activities. And then students, the product, what results were we seeing? Students went from hitting daily to almost once a week now to probably once every 2 weeks, I could even say. Students are lining up quicker. Instead of 7 to 8 students that were struggling to get in line, or even 5 to 6 students that were struggling, we now have like 1 to 2 every other day that struggle to line up. There's shortened transitions allowed for the fear of loss, so there's more students that are just lining up on their own or holding themselves accountable and making it easier to get those ones that encouraging those ones that don't want to line up to come line up with them so that they don't miss out as well. There has been an increase in hitting, which seems to be related to the social skill learning. We looked at the siblings, so we had a lot of older siblings or only siblings, so they're used to having independence, being at home through COVID, not a whole lot of social settings. So we're still having to reteach and teach those social skills boundaries, how to work with others, their age. We read the book My Mouth is a Volcano, and teachers began to identify erupting moments for students that had trouble with erupting, and so we've seen a decrease in those erupting moments and the understanding of the importance of raising their hands and taking their turns. And so there's a longer attention span as each student goes through their learning process. There's shortened transitions, and so having fewer choices at the end of the day, free choice at the end of the day, has allowed them for time for science. There's an increase in crying or feeling like they're out of control, so we're still dealing with a bit of that. They're trying to control their environment or not have to sit in the environment, and that's as a result of having to deal with some of those aggressive behaviors. We couldn't deal with the independent, or there were some other students that got away with some things that we're now holding them accountable for. So within the next few weeks, we anticipate that those behaviors will decrease as well. And students are policing their own space. They are respecting their others. They're able to tell. We kind of have a tattletelling, increase in tattletelling, but they're able to point out when somebody is not doing the right thing. And so we're teaching them now how to talk to that student and use their ability to help hold each other accountable without having an adult involved. So we thank you for listening to this presentation. It was great to teach you about the ARCS model and the SIP, and be able to motivate the students in the classrooms while holding not only yourselves, but the classroom program and the classroom environment accountable for teaching and the learning of each student. Thank you.